Hello and welcome to this tips and techniques video from Master Your Photography. In this series we've carefully crafted a collection of short videos designed to provide you with key points on specific topics without any of the unnecessary waffle. Our goal is to give you practical information that you can immediately apply to your own photography. We understand that your time is precious, so we've condensed each video to deliver concise, actionable information. With our tips and techniques series, you'll gain the knowledge and the confidence to improve your photography in no time at all. So, that's probably enough waffle, let's get started. This tips and techniques video is all about panoramic photography. Now, when we talk about panoramic images, we are usually talking about an image that is exceptionally wide in relation to its height. But of course you can turn that the other way around and shoot vertical panoramas as well, so don't get too hung up on the idea that a panorama has to be a really wide image. It can be a really tall image as well. There are three main ways to take a panoramic image. Number one would be to actually use a specialist panoramic camera. These do exist, and if that's what you do all the time, then it's probably worth the investment, but that's probably the most expensive route to take panoramic images. Option number two is to just use your normal camera, shoot a standard ratio format image, and then crop it. So take the top and bottom off and make it an extra thin panoramic style image. And then the third way, and the method that we're going to talk about in this video, is to actually take a series of overlapping images and then in post-production stitch them together. Now this method has two advantages over cropping the image from your existing standard camera format. The first advantage is that it gives you a wider angle of view because you're literally rotating your camera from left to right and getting more of the scene included in the final image than you could with just the lens pointing straight forwards. And the second advantage is that you actually end up with a much higher resolution image because you're taking your standard resolution and you're stitching lots of these together to create even more pixels in the final panorama. So using this technique, any camera will actually do. If you've got a DSLR or a mirrorless, that's fine. Even a compact camera will allow you to use this stitching technique. A wide angle lens is a good choice, but again, if all you have is a standard lens, that's absolutely fine. You'll just find that you're taking more shots than you maybe would with a wide angle lens, so you've got more shots to stitch together in order to include the same angle of view. If your camera has manual mode, then it's a good idea to use it if possible, because this allows you to set your exposure so that it doesn't change between the different images. Also set your focus point manually if you can, because this stops the focus point moving between images from, say, foreground to background. And the white balance setting, if you can fix that to one of the presets or a custom white balance setting, that's a good idea and better than using automatic white balance, because you'll find that the colour does drift from one side of your panorama to the other if you're using automatic. When you're ready to start shooting your panorama, it's best to plan the shots first. So looking through your viewfinder, work out where your starting point is, maybe at the left hand side of the scene, and work out where your end point is at the right hand side, and then how many shots do you need in between those 2 points in order to get the number of images that you will need to stitch together. Now you should allow a 20 to 30% overlap between each image, but if you're unsure, then it's always best to end up with too many images, because you don't have to use them all when you come to the stitching stage. If you've got a tripod, then it makes the process much easier if you use it, because you can actually ensure that your camera is level. It's very easy to move your camera up and down, but if you are hand holding the camera, then a good tip is to actually find the horizon line, and as you pan from left to right taking these different images, try to ensure that the horizon line is at the same vertical point in your viewfinder for every single shot. Once you've got your series of images ready to stitch together, then you're going to need some software. This is where we go into the post-production stage. Now, the industry leaders are Adobe Photoshop and Lightroom, and so I'm going to concentrate on Lightroom here because that's the one that we use more often than not. But there are lots of other software packages out there. There are specialist panoramic stitching packages. Some of them are paid for, some of them are free. Have a bit of a Google search and you'll find something that fits your needs. In Lightroom, we would import our individual images, select them all, and then choose Photo Merge and Panorama. At this point, we are going to be presented with various options centered around the projection method that we want Lightroom to use. Now, the three main options are spherical, cylindrical, and perspective. Spherical is ideal for a 360-degree panorama, so if you were literally shooting a full 360 from your standing position, then spherical usually works the best. Cylindrical is best for just wide horizontal panoramas, so this projects the images as if they were mapped on the inside of a cylinder, so it helps to maintain some of the straight lines for horizons and just works for really nice wide landscapes. The perspective method is usually best for any architectural shots where you want to maintain any straight lines on the buildings. Sometimes you'll choose the method that maybe isn't the correct one for the shot that you're taking, but it's the one that gives you the best result. So it's important to have a play around with the different projection mappings until you find one that works for your particular image. Stitching images together in this way can sometimes produce a curved panorama, so it makes your subject look as if it is curved. But this can work with some subjects, but not with others. You know, buildings in general don't tend to look as good if they're curved. On the other hand, don't just ignore it completely. You can actually use this curvature as a creative technique to maybe produce an image that is visually more interesting, even if it's not technically correct. Once you've decided on a projection mapping and you've hit the go button, then the software will churn away in the background and merge the images together to give you a final panoramic shot. Now at this point you will probably then need to start adjusting the exposure and the colours, so you'll be using the normal adjustment tools in your editing software, whether that's Photoshop, Lightroom, or whatever it is you prefer to use. You may have to do some cropping because the corners of the image may have been missed out, but this is the time to get creative and actually do some really nice retouching work to perfect your panoramic image. If you're at a stage in your photography journey where you don't have a DSLR or mirrorless camera yet and you may be just using your phone to capture images, then don't worry, you don't need to be left out with panoramic photography. You can of course still shoot individual images and then stitch them together using software, or you can actually use the mode that's built into most phones nowadays, with the panoramic mode, which actually seamlessly combines the shooting and stitching process into just one smooth operation. So have a go with that, and again you're going to find that it just generates lots of creative opportunities for you. Don't limit yourself to just using landscape orientation. Be creative, and instead of stitching images together horizontally, try the same technique vertically and create really tall compositions. It works well with skyscrapers, and it also works really well on cathedral interiors. Mastering panoramic photography is going to open up lots of new creative possibilities for you. It's going to allow you to capture these expansive views that right now you maybe can't capture because you don't have a lens that is wide enough. Remember, the other advantage is that the panoramic images that you create are much higher resolution than shooting just one individual image. Now that's really useful if you want to produce great big prints. So next time you're out and about with your camera, it doesn't matter whether you're shooting landscapes, cityscapes, buildings, interiors or exteriors, have a go at shooting a panorama. Thank you for tuning in to Master Your Photography's Tips and Techniques series. We hope you found this video useful and practical. Remember, each photo you take is a stepping stone towards becoming a better photographer. So get out there and capture the world in your own unique way. Until next time, happy shooting.